la la.
Good afternoon, everyone. Captain Lane speaking, and wishing you a safe travels to your crypto destination. For those of you traveling with mice, please securely position your cursor over the like button below and right-click with your favorite finger. For those with touchscreen devices, we ask that you gently press the
Greetings to the crypto community. We are pseudo-anonymous. We are here to smash that like button. We believe this content needs to reach more people like you. We are watching. We are listening. Most importantly, we are liking and subscribing. We are pseudo-anonymous. Expect us.
Hey, Kimmy, baby, I had a book over here in this drawer. You seen it?
You mean a little black book? Oh, honey, I cleaned out those drawers in that whole room and made a big donation to Goodwill. But don't worry, we can get you another one.
Oh, hell no. You're never going to believe what happened to me today at the Goodwill. I found a book of seed phrases, honey. I can get those hair transplants now. Oh.
Go best friend. That's my best friend. Go best friend. That's my best friend. That's my best friend. Go best friend. That's my best friend. Go best friend. That's my best friend. That's my best friend.
If you just stumble across the channel, it's probably because somebody hit that like button before. And for those of you who hit that like button, comment, and subscribe, I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much. Well, it's all right now because anything you do, baby, that's all right. Oh, baby, that's all right.
Some call him the Nostradamus of crypto. His jargon skills have discovered new entire galaxies. He once was engaged to Satoshi Nakamoto's oldest sister. He is the most interesting trader in the world. And today we ask him, what do you do when the market crashes?
I buy more. And I also subscribe to Road Dog Crypto. Trade wisely, my friends.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. My apologies, first of all, for being late. It is 8:33. This was supposed to have started at 8 p.m. sharp, and it did not, and that was my fault. I fell asleep. No excuses. I was just up all late last night, doing the old crypto thing and being my little night owl self. But my apologies, it's been inconvenient. I see that we're lacking some of the people, some of the viewers. But I'm glad to have you guys here that are. And so, as far as a very well thought out syllabus for tonight, that did not happen as I was dreaming. But the plan was, well, last week that we talked about just, a basic overview and introduction, and I went over mostly, horizontal support lines. And that's a basic fundamental. This time I was planning on going over trend lines, but I think one of you guys asked me just if I could just do an overview of my style, and that made sense because I take a class. I like to know what I'm learning when I go there. Kind of you walk into biology and then you're like, what the hell is this? What are we doing here? So I figured maybe we'll start out that. Of course, it's the same thing you see me do all the time, but I welcome questions at this time from any of you guys. We'll take it from there, but then maybe we'll just focus more on trend lines because that's a whole show dedicated to just trend lines itself. I think they're marvelous. We might get into that area. Let me find a good chart. I'm guessing we're going to kind of stick with Bitcoin most of the time. Let me find one I haven't mucked up too bad here. Have I mucked you up? You're mucky looking. You're not very mucked up. Well, a mucked up one. We need one that I can hide somewhere I won't use. I'll put you over here. Yeah, we'll hide you down here. You're the secret Bitcoin chart for us. There we go. That sounds like a plan. So any questions that you guys might have, I'll definitely entertain them. They will probably help get the ball rolling here, but let me say hello to everybody that's here of this lovely, beautiful evening. It won't take very long. There's not many people. It's telling me we got 4 convert viewers, so we got 4 of you guys here. And it looks like we got Road Glide, Glasshopper, and so far that's all I see, but that's fine. Hey, thank you for being here, even when I'm late. I would blame it on Sean, but no, at some point you gotta take responsibility. Yeah, about damn time, Road Dog. Shoot, been saying that for years. Okay, Sean. Don't get used to it. You suck, Road Dog. All right, so where to begin? I need to get my chat out so I can see that. Let's put you back up there. There's Billy C. How's it going, Billy C? Glad to have you here. All right, so like we talked about last time, was mostly horizontal support and resistance, which is very important. I recommend starting out on the weekly time frame to get these little guys. We'll just do a quick overview of that. And merely all this is just finding the areas. I like to use Alt and H. It makes a little line. Or you can go over here to the panel on TradingView or your exchange there. Hope the music's not too loud. So we can come over here to where we had the little line to us, the second icon down. If you push the little arrow beside it, you have the ideas. You could do array. That would be that. The horizontal line is the one that I'm using. You can use that and click that and then come over somewhere and then click and it will draw one. But I like using Alt H and it just goes wherever I'm at. So basically, you would find yourself coming into a chart and you would be looking to the left for areas of support. And one of the first ideas you do is just come down and just go to the candle tops. I recommend the candle bodies. And we would draw that. So this would be a line of support on the weekly time frame, and that's kind of important. And the supports will lay on top of the candles. Now, let's say, for instance, that we found ourselves here, somewhere on the bottom, and we needed resistance areas. Well, we would just come in from the bottom, and we would look at these areas here. This would be a nice one right here. Now, here's something that I'd like to really kind of do when I do support resistance, horizontal support and resistance line. You can find candles where one ends and then one stops. It went through one, that's fine, but that helps us. And then you look over to the left a little bit more, and you probably see some other sides and wicks to it. So that makes a nice little support resistance flip. Now let's see the lowest candle. If we were to just copy this line, press Control, and just drag it up, we just take it up to looking to the left to the next lowest candle body, and that would be an area of support. Now I'd like to color my support. Well, I don't. An idea would be coloring them green. From here, we're looking in this area here. Oh, right here's one. Perhaps we didn't look left enough, or we would have caught this one over here. And let's copy that one and let's drag it over here to this one. This is a candle body. And we just kind of scan, and we're looking for, there's another area where she found some support. I will copy this guy and drag him up there. And this one, I'm kind of getting these areas over here. I got that white candle. And that's basically how you would do that. And then, so we're pretending we were down here. We look to the left, and then we will monitor as price starts going forward. We'll pretend it's playing out and see how it responds to these areas. And you should see some reactions to some of these areas. Some of them, they will go through and they weren't as great of support, but the ones that were support resistance flips, like we identified over here, those are pretty strong ones. Those are the best ones to have if you can spot them, where it was resistance and then where it was support and then it was resistance on the underside there. And so this one, let's just make him white. That one definitely had an interaction with price. And then one above it, where we had the little wicks, but this area over here, ironically, wasn't as strong. We kind of went through, I'm a weekly time frame here, right? And over here, but this this area for resistance, that one actually held very well. So when it comes to these things, I mean, depending on how people, and usually for a weekly time frame. Now, if we come to the daily, we'll probably see more interactions with those. That was on the weekly time frame. If we come to the daily and go back to those areas, you'll probably see a lot more interaction. So with this one, we had an interaction. With this one, so see, they're a little bit more. Yeah, they actually do something. It did have an interaction here. It went through it and then found support here. So they all did something, except for, I guess, the only one that really didn't do much was this little guy right here. Well, you're the lame duck in the room right there, mister. All right, and so, and what was previous support will be future resistance. What was previous resistance will be future support. They flip, and then we respect these areas again. And look, when we came down to this area. Now, one thing that you don't see me doing that very much when I do TA, to do it like that, but that's how I started out learning. It's a great way to learn. I think you do. I think you'll see other YouTubers do that and see the horizontal lines across their screen and everything, but that's what they're doing, looking for support resistance. And that can help you. That's the first step to help you navigate the market. Now, after that, in my personal opinion, let me get these moving averages off of here. Watch me forget to turn them on for tonight's stream, which will also be late tonight. Just a heads up. I just know where this is going. It's going to be late. It is almost 9 o'clock now, so. So, from horizontal support and resistance, the next place that I think is just absolutely magical, that if you have no indicators whatsoever, I mean, these are very, I find them amazing. The trend lines. It's my favorite, better than horizontal support and resistance. Now let me conclude this clause. For when you saw me, I was using horizontal resistance. Can we get that back up here? All right. So what you see me kind of do now is that I use Fibonacci's. Now we're not getting into Fibonacci tonight because that's a little bit more of a rabbit hole when you get past the basics of Fibonacci. But if I wanted to see resistance, I would pull from top to bottom. And that's what I'd use. And I'd pull that over. And let's see if we can get it over here somewhere without the price action. Oh my gosh, we got way too many lines here on this chart. How can you even see what's going on? Well, let's look over here. Now this one, let's make them, what can we do? Let's make them, do you have bright pink? You can probably, that looks weird. I'll make them all this color and draw them up real big to highlight them. All right, so this one matched up with the 382. This one matched up with the 618. Fibonacci. Can we get the same color? And anything else? This one was close, but not close enough to be a cigar. But now. So it was these two little guys here, this one and this one. Two of the best responders, was it not? Or were you? Was it you? You're a 382. You're the one they passed through. Oh, and you were the 618. The 618 did all right. 618 got a nice little top there. Anyway, I find that my Fibonacci also does a great job of finding those support resistance areas. And so I do use them. And when you do that, and pull it over to the right here, well, it's not as the 618 got retested in there. I gotta say, I've seen her match up a lot better, so it's not being my prom example. She did very well for looking how they did in the past. Of course, this was in the past, but it nailed it back here. 618s and 382s, all this. And pulling it up this way from low to high after we've established that. In retrospect, it is really good in retrospect of getting those. We'll get into Fibonacci on another stream. But the technique that I use after trend lines that I find just the most amazing would be just your simple trend line. And I've got a little order of operations of how they work out. And so that's a little different than what you might see other places. So in essence, I guess we always start out from some kind of horizontal area of support or resistance. And then from those touch points, wherever that may be, I'm on the daily time frame. Zooming in here. There's a couple of rules to have a trend line. Your best trend lines have at least three points of support, but you need at least 2 points to have a line, right? So as price develops, whatever time frame that we're on, it will go up, it will come down, and then it will bounce at some point. And when you're first tracking it, you get a very steep trend line with just your first few candles, but that's something to go with, right? So the idea with trend lines is that, well, they determine the trend that we're in. As long as candles are closing above them, they'll respect that line, and that line continues. Once you establish that line, man, that line it goes on forever. And it's weird because price usually has, not all the time, but you will see where an extension of that line, there will be a reaction further on down the line of price with that area, and that's what makes these so unique and so helpful, because you can use them as predictive tools too, not just to show you which direction we're headed, up or down, but you can use them to find support and resistance, just diagonal. And then you can connect these lines together, and where they intersect with each other, random lines or lines that you got drawn in your chart, they just make like crosshairs or points, where a lot of times you will see a reaction. Not every time does not work out perfectly every time, but as a general rule, very good. So the idea when you're doing trend lines, and I like to use this too, this will help you also know when the move is over, when to get out of a trade. All right, so here we are. We're down on when Bitcoin was 15,000 on the daily, and we got a couple of daily candles. We're just looking at that. But what if we want to get into the nitty gritty? What does it look like then? Let's say we come down to the 4 hour, and we find, where are you? Where did the chart go? My chart disappeared. For real. Please, no more boomer moments. All right, so here we are. Yeah, we got some more noise on this one. Let's play it. 4 hour chart. Looks a little different from the daily. You'll notice that when you change time frames, well, the perspective on your lines changed a lot, or can. You may have to redo them. All right, so let's say 4 hour. Ooh, nice little V-shaped recovery there. That usually don't last. But you notice when you first started out, you got a little wick. And I would be following it just like that. We're pretending we're right here on the bottoms, right? And as long as that trend line holds, hey, I'm good. I can put stop losses below it if I'm trading. That's an idea. It's a great place to help you figure out where you put your stop losses, to help you get out of trades and know when. A lot of people say, when am I supposed to get out? You know, you hear some people say, when price is far away from the 21, that's how I knew when to get out. And I'm like, that doesn't tell me a damn thing. So this is a great trick for that. This one and a 9 moving average, but a 9 moving average is not as reliable as this. So the general rule is when you break the trend line, well, something's going to happen. Now, normally, especially in a bearish market, we're just coming down. So we break it, and we normally come down in your bearish market. Your bearish sentiment, whatever kind of market they're in, also will dictate your results a little bit. It'll have an effect. But this one was bullish. And it went up, but it still found rejection on this trend line. So this becomes a support resistance flip area, if you will. It becomes not a bottom trend line, but then it becomes an internal trend line that divides two little sections. What's actually happening here is that you have price that's traveling in a channel, because that's what price does. Once I accepted that and I said, okay, boomers, I'll accept your little channel theory, this got a whole lot easier. And in fact, I think I'm going to just show you the channels on all this. I think that would be the best way to really look at your trend lines. So it broke here. So if we were on a trade following this down from 15,000, when we close a candle below this, whatever time frame that you're trading on, you want to stick with that one. You don't be saying, "Oh, I want to, let's go down to the 5 minute and see if he closes a candle there," because stick with the same time frame so you don't get faked out. You always make your plans and everything on the same time frame. You execute them on the smaller time frames. That's how we say it. So this area, when we lost that 16,000, that would have been your time to take profit or maybe exit your trade, depending on your strategies there. That have been 5% gains. But now she went up and like, oh no, it's supposed to go down. And this is when you get sucked in and say, oh, I was wrong. Well, technically what you're doing, and we'll come down to a smaller time frame so you can see this. Now this is okay. You execute or zoom in. Where did you go, price? Jeez. Every time I switch a time frame, I lose you guys. Wait. We need to go back to that top. Finding this bottom is going to get on my nerves. Oh my goodness. All right, come on. I can't do this all night. I can't do this all night. We're finally here. Jeez. All right, so this is that channel, and that's what it looks like on this time frame, right? On the 1 hour, we were on the 4 hour, and see a little bit better here. And she broke up and went bullish, and she got retested there. This is when you have a channel that does like this, or a trend line that does like this. Yeah, you can look for your double top scenarios or an M-shaped pattern. You'll often see that, or some kind of, maybe a head and shoulders can sometimes come out of them. But a lot of times you'll see that, especially if it rides it up. I call it a leg rider. It just kind of rides up beneath it, but then finally loses it there. It just can't get up any further on the trend line. When talking upper trend lines on this particular time frame. So once she breaks out, then what do you do? Well, you would start drawing a trend line this way, following that. We get the channel off, and it'll probably make more sense. So you break the trend line, then you look for the top trend line. And then if you get a breakout from there, then you can enter in. So use trend lines will help you also on your entries and exits, especially the breakout trading. It's so we got out of that, and then what we do, we just do the trend line again, and then there's that channel. There's the channel. And then she broke. What's the rule? Well, then, okay, so when we're going in a trend, uptrend, we want to be on the underneath. And when we're looking for the same thing with, this will come in handy with divergence and all that. And for a downtrend, we're putting a line on the top. Broke it. We'll go from the bottom. We'll do this. And every time that we break that, that's either a place to where you can take away from a trade, take some profit out, or close a trade, or enter or open a trade. Now, you don't want to just rely on this by itself. If you couple this with like a 9 moving average or some other thing to give you a trigger to jump in on a trade, get something for confluence, you have a lot better luck. All right, so we're following underneath on this trend line. This was resistance. We just switched over to the 1 hour just because this has got a lot more lines that we can follow, basically. So it comes down, right? And so we're going to watch the top, and then we see. Now these other guys that we drew before, remember I talked about how they just keep carrying on, right? Well, yeah, you can just keep carrying them on, and you'll see an interaction a lot of times with that. Now you got the downward channels. Do you see what's going on? If we were to actually just take all these things over, you end up with, like I said, this really quilted looking chain link fence kind of thing. You got horizontal channels, you got you got, where do they go? You got channels coming this way. And I mean, it just gets wild, and it can twist around and everything. It's like a mesh that we're trading on. It's like a movable, like a, I don't know, like an onion bag or something. Those bags that onions come in or something. That it moves, and it distorts a little bit, kind of like this. It can be distorted. Well, I mean, in the overall shape, but your lines will be straight. Your lines will always be straight. Not trying to be confusing, but just some observations I've noticed about the market. But do notice, let me get rid of, back this little guy up so it's not as confusing. We came back to our original trend line right there. Now, I would love to go back to the 4 hour and show that. That was the one that we drew that. But as we're watching it or executing, this is great. I use this when I'm doing any kind of scalping, or if I'm trading on the 1 minute or something like that. If I'm zooming into something, a small time frame to help me get out, I will zoom into a small time frame. And then, like for instance, these guys, these big giant moves we got, and zoom in even smaller, 15 minutes if I need to, after I'll follow this to help me nail some places to get out. And I would know right here would be a great place to take profit. So trend lines, that's kind of what we're doing the whole way. And so now we come back to this guy. We lost it, and it's always a good time to, it's a warning. When you break a trend line, something is happening. It means the trend is changing. So if the trend is changing and you're in a trade, that's a sign that, hey, you need to take a minute to figure out what you're going to do. Are you going to do something here? You're going to do something. You're either going to ride it out. Woo! And if you're on a trade with leverage, that can be kind of dangerous. Because you don't know. Diamond handed, baby. Famous last words there. And then she come down. Oh, she came down. We do the same thing, the whole trend line thing. We just follow it and follow it. So this is the basics of how trend lines work and the basic uses of them. And you just track these little guys. And you start out with a steep trend. No matter whatever time frame, and then you can narrow it to a smaller time frame to kind of zoom in on it. But you start out with a sharp trend, and then it breaks, and then it'll form a bottom. And usually you're always looking for a higher lows, right? And so then your trend line matures, so you want to track that. So you go from your starting point. Here I'm going to start with the wicks because this candle body is above that. If I want to draw a straight line, if I'm trying to get a trend line, I'm looking for that. So I like to start on candle bodies, but it doesn't always work. When you get in those situations, start at a wick, then go wick to body, and you see you get an angle. Now the trend lines have taught me a lot about angles, and they are very, very important when it comes to the analysis and trading. And those angles will help you predict things too. The idea, just knowing that this is a channel idea will help you. So if we take that and extend that, just extend that angle, I mean, it's respected, and that was also a place when this whole thing is over. Once we get that second leg down or something like that, we can start looking to see if we've got any kind of channel idea. Once the trend starts maturing, we can see if we got a channel idea. And you see me do this all the time, and I didn't used to, but this has been a game changer for me too, just understanding this concept. Because price travels in channels, and it will stay in that channel, bouncing off the walls of it until it doesn't. Now, rising channels. Now we're starting to get into patterns now. Okay, so now I've got to go into some more specifics here. All right, so the rules of the game are for trend lines. Do we have a text box? All right. Rules or guidelines, I guess we should say. Let's say guidelines. So one, a trend line, well, you need at least 2 touches to be valid. 3 or more is mucho better. Mucho mejor. Why'd you call me? I didn't say nothing, Sean. Now that looks confusing. It looks like 1 as the 3. Let's make this confusing. Let's make this even more confusing. Three or more is 3 or more touch points. So that's what you need for a trend line. Now for a pattern, and this includes channels, this includes everything, but you need, in order for to know if you have a valid pattern, you need 2 trend lines. And you need at least 2 touches on one side. And 3 touches. Touches on the opposite. So these rules come from, well, I think they're basically accepted out there. Thomas Wachowski talks about them. I think in Investopedia you can have all that. Investopedia is a great place to spend some time. Remember, everything that you might be paying for to learn from someone else, it's available freely on the internet. Just throwing that out there. You gotta dig for it. And sometimes it's just a little easier to watch somebody else explain it, and I understand that. That's fine. That's why I'm here. I'm cool with that. But you just need to know that everything out there has been done already. It's been out there for decades. It's nothing new, except for maybe some new concepts that kind of redefine some of those things, repackage them up, make them pretty so that they can make them marketable and sell them as a system or something. So guidelines, you need at least 2 touches to be valid. 3 or more is better. And then when we start looking for patterns, we need at least 2 touches on one side and 3 on the other. So is this valid? And every time the candle touches it, it's valid, right? We got our touches. If we want to go to touch point areas, sometimes I do that. We're zooming out. I got 1 area, 2 area, 3 areas. I got 1 area and this area, those 2. That one doesn't touch. Well, this went up here and that counts. It works for me. It works beautiful. So once you understand that concept, then we can start seeing patterns. And that opens up a whole new world. And there's nothing magical about the pattern itself. A lot of them you will find, and what I found after years of hearing it told to me but refusing to believe it was, it all comes down to ideas where you do have things like channels and triangles. Because most everything that you can see can fit into one of those ideas, a channel or triangle. I hate that. That sucks. I would never play that. I wouldn't do this. I would be doing this guy. I'd be looking for the channel. All right, so now when we'll get into patterns probably a little bit more on the next stream. But a prerequisite is to go over the old trend line. So here we are. I'm still in the 1 hour, and we're still down where Bitcoin was about 15,000. I don't know what kind of great groovy price action. It was kind of stale, but then we started rocking it. And so we just come into here and we just connect dots. We just connect dots and analyze what's going on. And that's one of the first things that you always see me doing is once I establish a trend line, and if it's a solid one, well, I'm going to look for that channel idea. And remember me telling about how these lines just carry on. If you always remember that, and don't be just going trying to find the little pattern here that we have to be walking into, and this and that, a flag here, this and that here. If you zoom out and just kind of remember some of these shapes, and we still have yet to zoom out. Even though it looks like, it was all over here, it came back in and still respected that same channel because the channels don't change. They don't change. They're always still there for some reason. You just got to go find them. And that comes back to, that also ties in with the idea of angle. Now, W.D. Gann was he was a badass analyst and trader. I mean, he was probably the greatest ever. But he was very big on the angles, and the angles were repeatable. The trend lines will help you find the angles. If you can find the angle, you can also take advantage of the predictive elements of that. Let you kind of see into the future, kind of, and predict. You're just forecasting. Forecasting is all. And I'm trying to find some good examples Oh, this would be cool. You find it a lot in Chop. I find. Well, I bet we could take one of these guys if we're picky enough with it and kind of draw it. Just extend it down and see what's going on with it. We get that angle. Now, this is interesting since we're talking about trend lines, and support resistance, and all that groovy jazz. Resistance, and then we broke out, and then it turned into support. Look, we're going to hell in a handbasket. But yeah, if you extend that trend line, you got an area where it might catch. There's some other little things that we do that we will get into later, which these little guys are awesome. Look, 1.272. That's one of my most favorite numbers. But the trend lines, I don't know. I can't not praise them enough. It's just that they tell me. I mean, I really believe I could do a lot with just trend lines, just by themselves. And I used to do that. I did. I can vouch for it. They are just so great at finding not just patterns, but just also just giving you the information that you need, man. When to get out, when to get in. And once you start seeing once you start tracking them, and as they start playing out, then that can affect, your strategy. What do you want to do? Are you going to be a breakout trader and just buy the breakouts? Well, it takes a lot of patience. This was all damn summer long before we got a breakout of that idea. You go into smaller time frames and find other little patterns. Oh, yeah. But the big thing, if you zoom out on the bigger time frame and you follow these trend lines, I love to buy the bottom of the trend lines. Anytime that we start coming near a bottom of a trend line and bouncing off of it, I mean, it's hard to beat those entries. Because once you establish a pattern or trend line and bounces off of them, you get nice moves off the bottoms of them. I mean, the number go up a lot quicker. One thing you never want to do is buy in the middle of any kind of range or anything like that. Guys, let me come over to the chat, and we got 5 people hanging out. Let me see if we got any kind of questions going on. What time is it? I don't see what time. It's 9:10 my time. All right, MG Motorsport, how's it going? Ryan K, Board PC Guy, Glittery Marshmallow, good to see ya. Ryan K, sorry, just came in. What are the rules for where to start trend line wicks or bar bodies? I've seen different people do different things. Is it just being sloppy, or is it open to interpretation? Great question. No, there are different ways. I went over that briefly earlier. Let's do it again, because that's important, I think. Let's get to a time frame here that's got some noise. Now, I recommend the Heikin-Ashi candles. They are great with trend lines. A lot easier to see what's going on than these Christmas tree candles. We'll use the Christmas tree candles here as an example. So do we draw them from wicks or bodies? As a general rule, and I didn't do this at first. It took a while for me to get to it. I was like, oh no, I'm going to use the wicks. I want to connect the wicks. I would go from wick to the wick, get the very extremes, and that's what you do. If you have a lot of wicks, I'm trying to find a lot of wicks on some price action here. Are we on the 1 hour? I should have some stuff. Do you have? I'm usually used to seeing more wicks on my Heikin-Ashi sometimes, and it's probably a good example of how to do it. But yeah, you can go from wicks wherever you want to and follow those ideas. It'll give you the extremes of it, but as a general rule, I found this better just to start with the candle bodies. But I used this example. I think I used this one earlier on one of them. Sometimes you might have a weird angle that's forming, and you might have to go to a wick. But if you do start with a wick, take it to a candle body, you will have more luck. in my personal opinion. You can interchange them, and that probably makes it sound a little bit more confusing. But I have found the best results come if I try to start from candle bodies whenever I can, especially if I'm connecting a bottom to another bottom in some way. It usually where I need to rely more on wicks is like when it's starting, when the trend's getting started, like this one right here. You get a wick and then you get some kind of weird angle. Just so happens that this candle body lines up with it, but they don't. The one we had earlier didn't do that, so I had to take the, where was that? Is that 15,000? Do I have a? You're kind of a weird one. Well, not weird, but it might work for my example. So if we started from the wick here and then, you know, try to follow the trend, you know, we're missing some stuff. But it could still work. We could. I'm not finding a good example to explain it. I'm just going to say, as a general rule, I would go with candle bodies. And that's more solid. That's where all the solid action is. And here's the little thing: when you're going to use these things, you'll use Trendlines to do your RSI divergence and things like that. That's another little more advanced concept we'll go over. It kind of also has predictive qualities. But that's based on this indicator and a lot of other indicators you can find divergence on between price action and what the indicator's doing, and that can tell you some things whether something's getting ready, whether the trend's getting ready to change or not, right? Yeah, those are little crystal ball moments that not everybody else will see that you can, and help give you an edge on the market. And that's cool. But all the indicators, the point I'm trying to make is the indicators, when they calculate them up, they're doing it with candle closes when they do their calculations. And what that means is candle bodies. So for someone trying to do their divergence and they're taking it from wicks, they're going to get it wrong. It's not how it's done. Trust me, I know. I used to do it that way. But doing candle bodies, it's just the best way to go. But you can finagle it around, and nothing is wrong. So if I want to draw my trend line from wick to wick, that's fine. But we want as much touches as we can get when we're doing a trend line. That's the beauty of a trend line. The more touches that we get, the more solid it is, the more accurate it is. But we could do that. We just miss a lot of stuff. We could go from this wick to bodies and just lay it down there, and when you do that, we got candle body touches, and that's valid to me, even from that. However, my way would be to go from bodies mostly. I find, and when you're looking for the angles, I find that's usually the strongest angles that you can go with. Hope that answered the question there. But as long as you meet up to the rules, you're not wrong. Just like when we're talking about what makes a trend line valid, you know, you need at least 2 touch points. As long as you do that, you're not wrong. How many times have you seen somebody? I don't know. I've seen people. Now I've done it sometimes when I'm doing a channel, but I make it a point to specify. You know, I'll take it up to maybe where there's 1 point or something like that, 1 candle body, and then I'm identifying an angle, which is not wrong, because look. That's definitely within the channel. But technically, I mean, where I'm drawing it over here, I've only got one area of touching. So that's iffy, you might argue, but the wick makes 2. Well, I guess you can argue. Yeah, there's a touch there with the wick. I'm sorry. No, that actually is valid. That is valid. It's valid. I've got a touch point with that body and then a touch point with that wick, 2 touches with that wick. So we're valid there. But sometimes you get into it and it don't have anything. And it can get iffy, especially, I mean, if you're doing a channel and you got an angle, you got an argument for why it would be there. But if you're just, I've seen some people, this is not the best place to do what I've seen. But I've seen some people, price will be going up, and then I don't know, they're just got a weird ass, you know, I see this a lot, like a symmetrical triangle I do a lot. It's not fitting with what I got here, but yeah, maybe I can. Maybe we'll do something like that, and they'll draw a line for something that's not there, and I'm like, well, you know, there's no touch points. That would be if you're trying to draw anything here, this is what I call pinching the tip, which is, I think it's one of the least accurate ways to do this. You're looking at price action and you're just coming in here and just pinching the tip, just doing what's here. What's the symmetrical triangle? What does this tell you? We got an up and we got a down. That's not enough for me, and we're starting to get into patterns now. But if you really want to see what's going on, you got to zoom out and take the whole picture, and this is the worst one I could possibly pick. Oh my God, this price action. And so what I see, and this is just local because we still hadn't done anything with this stuff down here, right? I would go to the bottoms. I would find your swing low, your swing high. And let's see what we got. A bunch of craziness over here. And that was the trend line. And so following the trend line, we get back to some of what we were talking about earlier. Well, we are following a trend line after they're established. See, this one would have started out like this. They also help you find parabolic moves too. We would have been playing these and up and down till we finally came down here, and then all this stuff we would have figured out, oh, we got a touch. So now we got something, and then that's where we could start figuring out that we had a channel and start tracking it. I'm trying to think, what else can I say about trend lines when they start out steep, and you'll find, I mean, you can find even that, you know, these angles, like 60-degree angles and 45-degree angles, 30-degree angles. Those are popular ones that you will see, and Gann talked about them a lot. Your strongest ones is a 45. It's ideally what you want to see when you have an angle, something around a 45-degree angle, kind of like what we got right here. Boom. That's when, if you got a 45-degree trend, you're in a strong trend. And if you lose that, you need to take profit. I'm just saying, and that's what happened here. So touchy touches. Sometimes you will see, a lot of times I see what we call three humps and a dump on a trend line. It's just a rule of thumb. If you're counting here, we may argue we didn't get that and only had two. Or this weirdness, and we're not getting into weirdness and anomalies, but 2 to 3 humps, and then look for price. But when it breaks, man, that's over. Trying to think if there's anything else that I need to mention about these trend lines. There's still a whole wealth that will come out as we discuss them. We're trying to zoom out and see what the overall pattern stuff, pinching the tip idea. So I want to go over my rule of operations for trend lines. That's something I haven't talked about here. Order of operations. This is my rules, nobody else. This is just what I've come to do with trend lines. Maybe somebody else doesn't. It's kind of like what we've seen over here, but when you are following a trend, let's go through the steps one more time. We'll be repeating some things here. 1 hour time frame. We don't know any of this, right? We're just watching it as it plays out. So we're starting here. We get this guy. Then we see a deviation from that trend line, which we follow with another trend line or whatever. Again, these are great places to take profit when you break trend lines. We just go through all of this. Eventually, we do get to where we have another touch and we got something. All right. In the meantime, though, the order of operation is that wherever we have a break, we will start a new trend line there. And if there's a deviation, we'll go from our last touch on the trend line and follow that one. And we're really good for tracking parabolic move. Do we have yeah, is that one, will that work? You went kind of parabolic. Can I have, where are my good examples when I need them? here's a nice one. This one looks confusing. All right, trend line up here. All right, so order of operation. I'm trying to find a good example of order of operation. We got a trend line established here. Let's do that, and then we're starting to deviate, and we'll take the last little measure from it. So we go to the last touch, and then we start from there to do another trend line. And it's just that every deviation will be based on the last touch. So that's kind of an order of operations. And if that makes any sense. Trying to think of an example where that sometimes things will deviate from it, and you just I've got some weird ass price action. If I invert you, will I see what I need to see? Let's do a downtrend. We haven't done anything downtrend. A nice downtrend. Let's just start somewhere. We follow that. Eventually it comes out to the channel. So I've not been able to show you what I really want to show you. All right. I think I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to leave it at here. I think we've covered a lot on the trend lines there. So we went over, we retouched over the horizontal support resistance ideas, and then we started getting into the trend lines and a little bit of the trend line magic, and stressing that how they, once you draw them, they keep going, and then price will interact with that at some point. Am I inverted or am I regular? They go forever, and then price, when it encounters again, there'll be either go through it or there'll be a reaction there. But it's the preliminary is a great way to help you follow any trading that you're on, help you figure out when to get in, when to get out, based on if you're breaking in on the trend line, or if you're at a bottom of a trend line. Remember, I like to buy bottoms of trend line, so that's one way that it can help you. And just tracking, and then we can get into the patterns. We'll start getting into the patterns now. We touched on patterns briefly tonight with just the channel idea, and that's that's a strong idea right there. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get ready for the nightly stream tonight here in about an hour. Let me check and see if we got any questions over here. Hey, thank you, Roguelike. Thank you for the super chat. Can you draw a trend line from any candle wick as long as you get 2 and 3 points? Right, you can. You choose whether you want to do it from wicks or candle bodies, but I'm just telling you, candle bodies you'll have much better, more precise information you will get from candle body closes. But yeah, getting those 2 and 3 points, that is crucial. That is crucial. All right, guys, if you got any questions or if you think of anything later on, you can leave a comment in the actual video comment, and that could go a long way. Any kind of questions, comments over there, that would be greatly appreciated. And then we can kind of tailor this in. So I think next time we'll start getting a little bit into the patterns, I guess. I don't think I'm ready to pull out the indicators yet, but eventually we'll get into the 5 moving average strategy that I use, and the Fibonacci. That'll probably take a while to do Fibonacci. That'll be a fun one though. That one, ooh, I'm telling you, the nailed it targets, they all come from Fibonacci. There's nothing magical I do. There's nothing within me. It's just that Fibonacci and knowing which ones to go with. There's a little little system that I've been discovering to help us figure that out, and I'll share it with you guys. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out. I'll see you hopefully tonight on the stream. And let me check one more time, make sure we've not missed any more questions there. Road Dog, I know I can read the stuff online, but I do not understand it the way you teach. My brain understands. Please don't stop. No, that's what I'm here for. I mean, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But I mean, I just like to let everybody know. I mean, the way some people present this stuff, you know, they just have the magic way of seeing the charts or this magical system of trading and stuff like that. But there's nothing new out there. It's all out there. I mean, you can. I have not read this page, every page in this book cover to cover. I mean, this is encyclopedia, so reference book. But this is a great book. It will change your life when it comes to trading, and not just patterns, but all this stuff. But it can get tedious to have to sit through that, or even sit through I've got a whole trading course over on the Telegram group, right? But it's in an Indian accent, and they get boring. And when I joined the trading group, there were these little classes that you have to take, sequence of classes to take and learn, go over moving averages and, you know, every little thing. And the guy's literally going to Investopedia and reading it off. I mean, it's boring to learn this stuff. It is. It can be. So I can feel you there. And I hope that my nightly channel, that's why I'm trying to make it somewhat, you know, show it in ways that you'll remember it, say it in stupid ways, or show it with silly pictures, or tie it to a silly idea that'll kind of help it stick in people's minds. And hopefully it works. Guys, I'll see you tonight. Thanks for hanging out. Got 9 of you. Thank you so much. And again, my apologies for being late. The dog overslept. The turkey overslept. All right. I'll see you guys tonight. Thank you. Sean, take us to the end screen.
Money hit the floor, make it rain, make it pour.
Brave Expanse.
I count money.
That's okay. I used to do that too. I was in a trading group. Nobody knew I was even alive in that trading group. I never posted. I just soaked up information like a little sponge.
It's just me and the fam.
I didn't know Joe until after I got my YouTube channel. We just kind of came across each other. Well, I think there was a Telegram thing at one time. But anyway. But yeah, I understand. The road dog's a lurker. Alright, I'll see you guys tonight. Hey, love you about an hour.